Hi, this is Ashley Titus from RAGS Solutions. This software application that I'm going to demonstrate to you on how it works and how it's going to be set up is for procurement management. It is the only software application that provides value to the customer at the lowest cost per user. Today, procurement is a key enabler for organizations and companies to be highly competitive and obtain the best possible outcome in every procurement lifecycle. This software application is your answer to taking out the complexity of a procurement workflow by simplifying the interfaces and ensuring collaboration across the organization or a company. The backend of the system is managed by your company admin, who quite simply sets up the organization and people who will be called upon to perform their duties in every request for quotation process and through its life cycle respectively. Every stage has nominated a person who can accept to move it to the next stage or return it back to the previous stage with commence. A request for quotation is staged in the software application to achieve what we all struggle to execute in an RFQ process for procurement of items or services on a daily basis. Reasons of which could be due to personnel not prioritizing their time, many interfaces, no means to plan or reschedule dates, and thus predict impact on each RFQ cycle or life cycle. Being able to reallocate roles to recover any delays in the RFQ process, etc. This software application is a readily available workflow for every procurement exercise initiated per RFQ, leading to the placement of a purchase order based upon due diligence in scoping, reviewing, approving, analyzing, and awarding. Ensuring input when applicable is suitably achieved by the delegation of roles to personnel responsible for such functions in the organization. To start with, you would have registered and been able to request for a demo version which is valid for 30 days. Yes, we would like you to try this demo version and tell us what you think. I'll take you through the process of how the demo version can be set up, and likewise any other version if you had to pay for a license and choose which plan you would like to subscribe to. The hierarchy of the software is a company admin who is supported by admin users, who is supported by users. These three levels of control allow us to manage this software application and allow you to manage your procurement in your organization. Don't forget that today we want to be highly competitive and obtain the best possible outcome in every procurement life cycle. We want to make this a business unit so that it is a profit center and not just enabling a procurement exercise to be taken from start to finish. So let me start here by getting logged in as a company admin. You would have been given a company code, which I just entered. Your email address would be what you had provided when you registered. And the password, which would have been in the invitation email sent to you. So here we are, logged in. If you want to change your password, you can do that, and you can have your fresh password to log in. Your dashboard is your calendar. It is also your section where you can record favorites, any favorite request for quotation, as we call it in RFQ. So that in future, if you wanted to have a similar RFQ, you will be able to pick it up very easily and use it for future requests for quotations. You also have outstanding actions of your department. Don't forget, you as a company admin can oversee everything happening in your company. Likewise, you can break it down into departments if you wanted to, and you will see all the outstanding actions and also the completed actions. Besides, you'll also be able to see your activities when you logged in and when you logged out. So you're sure that you are the only one accessing your account and so on. If you wanted to check your outstanding actions, quite simply choose all, or you could have picked a date when you wanted it to be from and to. And likewise, you would have picked your completed actions and been able to see what has been achieved and by whom. It gives you the RFQ title, it gives you the stage name, what was done, and it gives you the people who have done it, when it was started and when it was finished. So that is your dashboard. Going to your profile, This allows you to update your own very own profile. Put up pictures so that people can recognize you, not just your name. Company detail, that is the place where you can edit the company detail, put in your company logo. This is your software. This is what you're going to look like within your company. And this is where everybody who has been created as a user will be able to access data and information on every single procurement process that you wish to have within this software workflow. Editing the company detail is easy because it has simply the logo of the company, the name, the location, business unit, what currency you would like to operate in, and the company ID, which allows you to see it but not change it, because that's fixed, and that's fixed for all your users. This is important because it allows you to be this will show up on your communication with others and external people. What else can I show you here that that should get us started as, let's say, information rather than any actions? Yeah. I guess the best thing to do at this point in time is to know exactly what is the method for setting this up. The first thing you got to do is to create your departments, manage your departments. You may have quite a few of these departments, and I got logged out. So, well, there's a timing for how long you can be in the system, and I guess I got logged out. Let me try to log in again. Okay. Company detail. This is where you manage your departments. You can see that we have created some departments, as in the name of the department could be logistics, for example, and what they do. They do their material receipt and delivery. Project execution would be responsible for the RFQ internal interfaces. Project team lead, commercial approval. A supply chain for material control. Engineering for technical review and approval. Project control for RFQ external interfaces. This means that you can create your departments to suit how you operate. And the company name is always there. The status, you can change it from being active to inactive. Once you create a company department, you cannot delete it. It stays there. You can inactivate it by just hitting the delete function, and you would have made that department inactive. You can create a new one by just hitting the plus sign there and giving it the name and the description as we have just done for the other departments. So you could create as many departments as you want, and you could even keep it at one department. There's no problem. So you've created your organization base, as in how they're going to operate and how the departments are going to function or are functioning within your organization. The next thing, of course, you would like to do is to create the categories. Creating the categories of procurement. You could have many types of categories of procurement depending on what you do. Construction and engineering, for example, they would like to do a lot of fabrication with vendors. And so you could either have that edited at any point in time or deleted in the same way I explained earlier. Clicking this button also deactivates the record quite simply. Creating a new category list is the same as creating the departments. Very similar. So then you've created your categories of procurement. This is a progressive exercise. You don't have to build everything today. It's where you want to start. It's which department you want to start with. Who wants to start to raise a request for procurement exercise or request for quotation exercise? Let's say it is the logistics department or the projects department who wanted to do that. create the department for the projects, establish what kind of procurement they want to do, create a category for it, establish which vendors can give you that category of procurement, who can provide you that category of procurement, and create that vendor by giving them, by assigning their focal points name, email address, mobile number, country and address, and some remarks on what procurement they do. Because sometimes a lot of vendors, they get nominated for one exercise, but they're not approved for the second one simply because they didn't have a very good record, or there's others who are more capable than them. So in this remarks section, you can actually state what you want that vendor to do for you, and hence you would approach that vendor only for that particular one. So this is how you create your vendors for a different, for each type of procurement. We can look at this one. Here we can see that Al Taiba Trading, they do fabrication and material supply. So we know that if we had any fabrication inquiries, we could go to them. Now you can create as many vendors as you want, because for every request for quotation, you can either choose 2, 3, 4, 5 vendors, depending on how many you want to entertain and how many would be able to quote for you. So again, you could inactivate that vendor by just checking the box or not checking it. When the box is checked, the vendor is active. Right. So you've created your vendors. You've got your departments, you've got your category of procurement, you've got your vendors. Now comes the time that the rest that you can see in this menu, it all depends on how the admin users who are on the next level of this hierarchy are able to generate accounts for users who would then carry out the exercises for procurement. So it's then your responsibility to create admin accounts where you would determine the details as a name. You know that because you're working in the same organization. You could create both the levels of hierarchy. You could create as company admin, you could create an admin user, or you could create a user who's below the admin user. It doesn't matter. You can choose what you want. They would have an email address and likewise an address with respect to this. This is just my browser. And so you would create all that and save it. Two things to note really, both for the vendor and for the admin accounts. The moment you do a first save, if you save it, if you had to edit that record again and do a save, this will not happen. But the moment you do a first save, that person in your company gets an email welcoming him to the team. That vendor would have also, moment you did the first save, would have got an email telling him that he is on the vendor list, and he could expect to receive inquiries from you for various procurement exercises. So the first save, both for the vendors and for the admin users, likewise the users as well. If you did create either an admin user or a user, the first save would get them, they would know that they have access to the account and they become a user. So the vendor is really just an external party who is going to be notified that he's on the list, but will not be directly involved in this workflow for the software. He's an external party. The person who is assigned to that stage will deal with him externally, but he does get notified through the software. He does get bid submissions coming to him from the software. Okay, so the other things in the other parts of this menu are really you can view accounts you created, yeah, very simply. You can tell the active. You could decide to send to set up the permissions. So we have a 12-stage workflow, starting from the initiation, which is not counted as a stage, but this being in alphabetical order is not the real sequence. but it tells you how many stages there are in the RFQ workflow. So you would be able to determine whether that user would, based upon the category, be given a permission such as to perform the bid submission stage. Every stage has a nominated person. You must have people nominated for every stage of the workflow, because then you can start the exercise. You can start the procurement exercise. So if you save that, you would have given him a permission to perform bid submissions for fabrication procurement exercises. He could be given more than one permission. He could have more than one permission. So that's how we generate permissions for the users. After you've created them, you go to view accounts and you're able to see exactly who it is. You know who they are, you know which departments they belong to, and you know what they can do. Based upon that, you assign them permissions. You can view your departments as well, what you've created. And likewise, you can view the categories. Vendors, yes, of course, you can view who's been created. The more vendors you have, the more you can assign them to several requirements in the future. View RFQ. If you had already created an RFQ, you would be able to view that RFQ and check the details of that RFQ and know exactly what was done, where and which stage it is in. You can see this RFQ, which is already done as an example, is in the single source approvers stage. The workflow is not started because the previous stage was a little bit earlier, done a little bit earlier. But the RFQ details are there. It tells you everything there is to do the RFQ. It provides you detailed special instructions issued to the vendor. Was any clarifications raised? No? Okay. But if there were any, it would be recorded. Sometimes we tend to issue, especially for fabrication, we tend to issue free issue material to the vendor. This allows us to view what material has been assigned to the vendor as free issue material. So there's no guessing involved. The vendor knows what he has to do, terms and conditions, attachments, and all of that. There's an attachment list as well. All of that provides you the detail of every single RFQ. It's complete. The scope, there's no assumptions. Or if there were any assumptions, it would be very few. Manage templates. Manage templates is simply an exercise on being able to send automated messages to various users in your organization whenever a certain stage is reached. This is very easily editable, and the ones that you see in brackets automated from the database based upon your RFQ. Manage material. Yes, you will be the one who would have to, including the admin users who assist you, be able to add material and so on as and when it's required. If the users who are raising the RFQ wanted any material, they would have to send you a request or send the admin user a request asking that a certain item be entered in. It's very easy to create an item. You have a material number which may be unique for your organization, because then you'll know exactly based upon that number what the material is, the material type, the material name, the price if at all is important, the size, the business unit with respect to the price, and the size unit, be it in centimeters or pieces or sets or whatever. So, and a description. Here you can put a detailed description of that particular item, because there's various things that you can have. Let's say a pipe, but it can have a much more detailed explanation of what it is in this field. Reports. This is fantastic. It allows you to do reports. It allows you to generate reports. It allows you to generate reports for the RFQ. You can choose the dates. You can choose the type of RFQ which you want to report for. You can choose a project for which it is for. you can choose the various stages that this RFQ process will go through. And this is what it is. After an RFQ has been initiated, it goes to the material controller to add free issue material. It's then sent out as an invitation to bid to the vendors. I'm sorry, I go back. I start again. After being initiated, it goes to the material controller to assign free issue material. The technical reviewers check and make sure that the scope, the special instructions, the standards or whatever is all up to speed and there's nothing missing for the vendors. The invitation to bid is performed using the vendors that we have in the system, multiple vendors or single vendors depending on the type of contract. Once we have external to this software receive the bids, the person in charge of the bid submission will upload any attachments or bid submissions or whatever, and then be able to do a bid tabulation to establish which of the bidders invited was indeed the most successful and rank them accordingly. If there was any bid clarification, it would have gone through that process. The technical approvers would confirm that that bid, as summarized in the bid analysis, is indeed what is technically correct. Single source approvers will verify if it was only one bidder that it's acceptable to have gone to that bidder. Commercial approvers will do the final approval of the commercial terms and conditions and so on, and then comes the award, which means that that vendor gets told that he has been awarded and respective conditions for delivery have been set. The vendors who did not win but who participated in the bid will be informed and thus be able to bid in future RFQs. If there was any variation in scope, it would have been recorded and processed after that stage or when it occurred. And finally, it leading to a closeout where everything is put together and that RFQ is closed. This is all recorded and it's in your database. So if you needed any particular reference in the future for budgeting, for various other reasons, you could pick it up simply by pulling it out of your favorites and so on. You can get a vendor report. You can either choose the dates or so on. You can export it in Excel format. You can print it. You can attach this to your management reports and so on. So all these reports are very useful. You know how many users you have. You can check how many users you have in the department. Yeah. You can check how many vendors you have. You can check what departments have been created, so you don't have to repeat the same thing. So people are aware of what's happening. These reports give you that external communication with different departments. You can generate what material has been generated so far in the system and where it's going to be used. And if you wanted to add something new, it's very easily done. So the reporting function is quite simply the way to go forward. Transaction history. You as company admin are responsible for the payments made to RAGS Solutions for all that has been procured to date. You can check the plan and see what is the current validity of your license, starting from 12 July, finishing 12 October. If after this date you wanted to renew it, which I hope you would be able to choose your plan. And this will be set up eventually. This is just a test, this is just kind of test information. You'll be able to choose a plan. You'll be able to generate an invoice for you to be able to pay it online or do it by bank transfer. So you have a record of all your transactions. And likewise, you'll be able to manage the license plan because you are the company admin. You are the focal of this software application. So that should take me through the company admin and your profile. These are the two main menus that you have. This one, in fact, leads you to the rest, and likewise, that should take you through and ready for allowing then the admin users to start their process where they would create users and accounts and permissions and so on. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Yes, you can do it, because you can do it yourself depending on how many users are going to be in the company. So you could create both the admin users and the users. So literally, you could jump one level, and when the procurement gets bigger, then you could have more admin users performing that role for you rather than yourself. I think I'll sign off from here, because the next admin users will be a separate video. Thank you.